big Tuesday for you, Veterans Day. So super excited for that, Schlegs, as we get to celebrate and honor all of those who served or have currently served in our United States armed services. So we really appreciate that. I appreciate you, Schlegs, for all of that. And it is a Tuesday, so we're going to welcome in our guy, Mr. Bill Bender. Super excited for him to join us today, and a lot of fun college football news and things that were happening over the weekend. Maybe not the crazy headlines that we saw, but there was some big games, Bill. There was some really good stuff that ultimately happened. And starting in the Big Ten, how much do you make of Indiana barely escaping Penn State and Happy Valley?
I texted a good friend with about 4 minutes left and said something to the effect of, Indiana can't stop the run. Penn State's got this game. It's over. And sure enough, Fernando Mendoza leads that game-ending drive. I mean, credit to Penn State for coming out and playing the way they did, aggressively up front. And then, Omar Cooper Jr., we're looking at one of the – I try not to use hyperbole too much, but that's up there for catch of the year. There's no question. The way he had the body control to look down, to get his feet down. And, Bobby, it really was one of those almost moments. If Penn State wins, it shakes up the Big Ten. And I know we'll talk a little bit about it. If Iowa wins, and they had every opportunity to win that game, it shakes up the Big Ten a little bit. Wisconsin did so. I think I was on here talking about Washington all week, and Luke Fickell scores a huge win at home, and that pretty much knocks the Huskies out. So it was a fun weekend in the Big Ten with those moments.
Yeah. We got Wisconsin with their leading passer as their punter, winning a game versus a ranked Washington at home. Good for Fick. The game versus Penn State. Penn State was in it the entire time, and you gave up big plays. And then they brought Maka all-out pressure. Guy gave up inside leverage on that. Just carry him out of the end zone. He can't toe tap then if you just take him out with you. Great game nonetheless. That is college football. There's going to be ups and downs. It doesn't matter. You got to win, and they won. Hey, Richard, first off, it's amazing. I'm happy we're starting our day off with you, the Magnum, because after this, everything just seems to be a little bit easier for the rest of my day. When you go and you look at then what transpired, because you've already kind of hit up the Big Ten, looking at all the other ones, right? The BYU-Texas Tech game, where BYU is ranked and how Texas Tech made them look. A&M handled business on the road, though should really Missouri be ranked? Should Tennessee even be ranked with 3 losses that are up there? The Auburn-Vandy game going into overtime. Wake Forest beating Virginia, shaking that whole thing up. What is your takeaway on a national landscape of SEC, Big 10, or Big 12, ACC right now?
Well, the Big 10 looks like it's in line for 3 bids. And we know who those teams are right now. It's Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon. The SEC is probably in position for 4, maybe 5. I want to talk about Texas Tech a little bit. They're the one team outside the SEC and the Big Ten that is the most interesting to me because of the combination of that running game when Baron Morton's healthy. And you guys are defensive guys. They're defensive and nasty. Jacob Rodriguez, he's a player. The linebacker, he had 14 tackles against BYU. David Bailey's a player. Their secondary keeps things in front, and they out-physical BYU, who their whole thing is being physical and running the football with L.J. Martin and Bear Bachmeier. So really impressed with them. I think you can lightly pencil them into the playoff, and I think they're going to take care of business in the Big 12. The ACC is an absolute mess. We were talking before we came on this morning when Duke, who is 5-4 and lost to UConn, has a relatively clean shot at the ACC championship game if they win their next 3. That ought to tell you the state of that conference with 7 teams that could possibly be in Charlotte, and you can make one of those tiebreaker math cases for any of them.
Hey, Bill, when you and I were just talking about this, so go over that because Pat Narduzzi had a crazy statement, and it was like, hey, I don't care if we lose to Notre Dame by 100. And why is that, guys? Because you got Notre Dame, but then you also have Georgia Tech and Miami. They'll be sitting there at 7-1. Because then again, if you go in and win your conference championship game, you're going to the college football playoff. Though there's no automatic bid to a bye, which is great. There's a lot of teams. How does that shake down, Bill? Start with the ACC, all the different tiebreakers. I'd even put Duke on my list because I was like, no way the Dukies at 5-4 are getting this done. But Georgia Tech 5-1, UVA 5-1, Pitt 5-1, SMU 5-1, and then you got Miami there earlier in the year. They're hot. Then they lose 2. Like, how's that shake down? What are the possibilities?
Well, I think, okay, so the best way to describe this is Virginia, who lost last week and also lost a non-conference game to NC State, still has a good look at it, might not have their quarterback this week in Chandler Morris, and they're a 6.5-point underdog at Duke. And they're at the top of the conference, will probably be the second highest ranked team in the playoff. I think all that mess last weekend helped Georgia Tech the most because Georgia Tech had a bye week. Lost to NC State the week before, and now the Yellow Jackets, if they beat Pitt and they beat Boston College, they're 7-1. Still got to play Georgia, but they'll be in Charlotte. And I think the second most important game after Pitt, Georgia Tech over the next couple weeks is SMU Louisville. SMU still only has 1 conference loss despite 3 losses overall. So this possibility that a 3-loss team could win the ACC championship, or in Duke's case, a 4-loss team. I don't know that that's good for the conference. If you're one of these power conferences, you probably want what the Big Ten has, which is pretty basic. You could have number 1 versus number 2 in Indianapolis, both teams undefeated, and with the Heisman Trophy at stake and everything at stake with Cignetti and Ryan Day. I think that you'd rather have that than trying to sort out these 7 teams. But I do think Georgia Tech in good position, SMU Louisville winner. Miami's still alive, believe it or not, just because of they've got the 2 losses. But if there's a 2-loss pile up, the Hurricanes could get back in it.
Is there anybody in the ACC, Bill, that you think could win more than 1 game in the playoff?
No, I mean that's the blunt answer. I just don't see it. Maybe 1. And we were talking about Pitt and Narduzzi there a minute ago. I do want to see what they do against Notre Dame because they do lead the nation in defense rushing yards per loud. They allow the fewest yards per rushing attempt. Their linebackers, again, you guys are linebackers. You'd love Rasheem Biles, Kyle Lewis, Braylon Lovelace. They've got a really talented group of linebackers there, and I think they can shut down the run. But that, with their backup quarterback and then CJ Carr on the other side, those quarterbacks are going to have to do more in that game. I feel like Pitt and Notre Dame was a somewhat big rivalry when I was growing up. They just don't play enough now, right? That was a classic game around here. And then they get into the Georgia Tech and Miami games. So Pitt is probably the most interesting team to me from that perspective because I think they could go in and win a playoff game, but I don't see any of these teams being in the Final Four.
Do you think that, let's talk about that Notre Dame pick. Do you think that they have a chance in this game versus Notre Dame? Because it is, unlike for Pitt, Notre Dame is a must win. They have to win this game or they are out, which then bodes well for potentially a 4th Big Ten team. But do they have a chance? Does Pitt have a chance in this game to be able to stop the run, in which that is what Notre Dame has been hanging their hat on, and their defense is playing better as of late?
Well, I mean, Mason Heinshell's been a difference maker for Pitt. And getting the ball down the field. They've lost the last 4 meetings to the Irish, but it's really going to come down to slowing down that run game. If Jeremiah Smith is the best player in the country, which I think he is, it might lead into Jeremiah Love might be the other one. I mean, he is a dynamic running back. That touchdown run he had against Navy on Saturday was fantastic, and he's game breaker at that position. So can Pitt slow that down? Can they take advantage of the home field advantage, the game day spotlight? It really hasn't been on Pitt in a minute. I think the last time game day was there might have been when they played Penn State, like when that rivalry was renewed. And what does Pat Narduzzi have in terms of a couple trick plays to keep that interesting? So it is no matter what Pat says about 100 points, 115 points, they're going to come out and play in that game. And if Notre Dame loses, they're out, which opens the door for maybe USC or maybe, even a 5th SEC team. And the one I've been keeping an eye on is Vanderbilt. If Vanderbilt gets to 10 wins, I think they have a reasonable shot of getting in because their losses are to Alabama and Texas.
All right, here you go. Vanderbilt, Texas, Oklahoma. If you have to pick one of those 3, who is getting in as the 5th SEC team?
Probably Vanderbilt, unless Texas wins this weekend. If Texas can somehow go to Georgia and win. And they have an awesome run defense too. They had a bye week. I don't like Oklahoma's schedule, Bob. I think that, they're going into Alabama this weekend. Alabama's been really good at home. And despite their defense, I think the Crimson Tide are going to knock them out this week. So it comes down to Vanderbilt playing Kentucky. I like them in that game. And then they close their season against Tennessee. They have a long losing streak against the Vols. But Diego Pavia, man, their season was on the brink last weekend. And I didn't talk about that much. What a comeback against Auburn to be able to come back in overtime and rally around your quarterback. They definitely, whatever your feelings are on Diego Pavia, the Commodores rally around him all the time.
Yeah, they do. I mean, and he's a gutsy player. We've seen that's why we love college football. Does it translate to the NFL? Who cares? They're fun games to watch. Like, you think that you always have a chance when he's doing that, and they're able to pull it out overtime. Go and looking at the auto bid for the group of 5. There's a lot of teams. Tulane beat Memphis. That was a big one. You got USF. All right, North Texas. J. Madison. JMU is there. Right? They played Coastal Carolina last game of the year. Who of those do you think are getting in? Going to be probably the 12th team, right? So who is that for you right now, looking at their schedules moving forward?
One of the interesting things last week was they said because there wasn't a group of 5 team ranked, that if that happens in the final rankings, they just pick one. So the committee's just like, it'd be like the 3 of us. Who do you guys like?
Who do you got?
Yeah, exactly.
I got the Bulls.
So when you say just pick one, Bill, are they picking the team then that they think is the most deserving in your opinion? Or are they picking the team that they think will give the best game to whoever that 5 seed would be?
If I picked, I would hope they would pick most deserving. But if I was picking the best team and they have work to do, I still like South Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think their path to the American Championship game is there. They have 2 losses, but we saw their non-conference schedule. So I think you could overlook that if they won the American Conference. They play Navy this week. They're a 10.5-point favorite. I think they're the best combination of offense and defense among those G5 teams. Memphis's loss opened that up. JMU is ranked, though, and that would be really interesting if Kurt Signetti's last school can squeak into the college football playoff with and they're heavy favorites against App this weekend. So there's a lot to do there. I still think the playoff berth will come out of the American Conference, and South Florida is on track to be that team.
It figures. It looks that way. All right, Bill, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Bill Bender and some college football questions after this. It's the NBA tip-off week in FanDuel, your home for live betting. So if you've missed the start of a game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel, they've got you bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your bets into same-game parlays for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join because FanDuel, they're giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your $5 bet wins. So just visit FanDuel.com/BigPlay to sign up today. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 older and present in Ohio or 21 older and present in Pennsylvania. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issue is now withdrawable bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Now back in with our guy, Bill Bender. And we've just watched Notre Dame just beat up Navy in a big way this last weekend. They've got a couple games left on their schedule. They're looking to finish the season here on a 10-game win streak. Jeremiah Love is on fire. Carr looks good. Defense seems to be coming around and getting a little better each and every week. Is Notre Dame better this year, Bill, than they were last year?
I think so, and some of that is it took a couple weeks with CJ Carr, which happens with young quarterbacks, right? Last year they had Riley Leonard. I heard that name yesterday, and I forgot all about him. And not saying that in a bad way, like what he meant to that offense with the rushing touchdowns, and they were a power running team. I think CJ Carr brings some different elements to that. Their defense has settled in after a rough start. There's no question they had a rough first 3-4 weeks of the season. But they've been much better since. And I know we always talk about on here, and I love talking about it, the list of teams that you think could maybe challenge Ohio State and run with them in the playoff. And I mean, Notre Dame could, I'm not saying they would win, but they're certainly a team that would give Ohio State a challenge with that combination. I mean, there's no question. I think Alabama's still the other one. And then we're going to get to see Indiana in a few weeks. So I mean, that's the short list. I can't really, I'm not saying Ohio State can't just show up and win, but I mean, those are the three teams that kind of stick out if we get in the playoff format that I would have my eye on and be super excited if they got into a matchup with Ohio State.
So you said, hold on, that was Notre Dame, and then that was Alabama, and
well, I mean, we're going to see Indiana before the playoff probably. So, I mean, is there any team I'm missing that when you watch them, you're like, okay, that's going to be, I mean, Michigan's implicit, right? That's the rivalry game. We understand that. Is there any team you've watched where you're like, man, I kind of want to see them play Ohio State?
See, I haven't watched A&M play any like big time competition like yet where I think that they have like super elite playmakers. So I'm curious, Bill, just about A&M from that standpoint of Mike Elko is a really good defensive coach. Could he slow down this offense? I think he's another guy that could be in there. It's always interesting with Lane, but I don't know if they have enough on the defensive side. I think that list is probably it. I mean, is it crazy for us not to include Georgia in that with Kirby Smart and what they've done historically?
Well, and they have talent too, and I'm not shortchanging A&M. I mean, I like their combination of defense and offense, and Elko and that no nonsense formula works for them. But I know they play Texas first here in a couple weeks. When they play Texas and that physical defense, we'll know. And Kirby, I mean, I've been impressed with Georgia because it's not untouchable Georgia from 21-22, and they continue to find ways to win games. And they haven't looked pretty. They did take care of business at Mississippi State. That's a game where some people were trying to call upset, and they just dominated the second half. Gunnar Stockton's an experienced quarterback, and they are one of the few teams that has the blue chip talent that Ohio State has. Maybe not the same, but in that neighborhood where, the athlete isn't going to be the problem.
Yeah, there's so much stuff there because, I mean, if you look at Texas A&M, they got South Carolina, Samford, big time ball, and then at Texas. So you got to win. You got to win that one, and that game's predicated upon that last game of the season, our rivalry game too. Michigan, who's sitting there at one conference loss, Bill, and you got Texas, Georgia this week. I want to shift gears a little bit and go into and talk a little bit about from a national landscape as to what we had this in the chat yesterday about. Everybody blowing up Mendoza for the Heisman in that game. And then you get so many people trying to compare apples to apples in a game. And every game is uniquely different. Played Penn State at home, and IU played them on the road through the pick that led to the go-ahead touchdown that then drove them down. Didn't necessarily like all of the free plays because they hit a bunch of them, like over 15-yard passes, moved right down the field with ease at the last one. But talk a little bit about this Heisman hype between Julian Sayin and even Jeremiah Smith and what they've played this season and where that is on the national landscape. And what do they have to do to be able to win it, or what does somebody else have to do in some of these games coming up that they can put their name at the forefront of this Heisman Trophy canvas?
Right. Well, right now, to me, the 5 would be Julian Sayin. Again, the statistics haven't changed from week to week. It's unbelievable what he's been able to do from an accuracy standpoint, from an efficiency standpoint with the receivers. Jeremiah Smith, last 2 weeks, 16 targets, 16 catches, 260 yards, 3 touchdowns. I'm telling you, if you went and played like college football, NCAA football, and tried to do that on a video game, I don't know if it can be done. So he's been awesome. Fernando Mendoza does have a couple Heisman-worthy moments, but it really will come down to can he lead Indiana past Ohio State or not? That's where I think his campaign will either end or begin or go into hyperdrive. Who knows? And then the other 2 that I think should be in the mix are Ty Simpson. He's played very well at Alabama, can manage the game very well. Maybe doesn't have the stats as those other guys, but can lead an SEC championship run. And we talked about him earlier, Diego Pavia. That's a guy that if he wills Vanderbilt to the playoff, 10 wins, and he's had 300-plus yards each of the last 2 weeks, he's kind of one of those MVP guys. I think he should be in New York if he has that kind of season.
But what about Love? You were giving all that. You're giving so much love to Love, right? As that other guy besides Jeremiah Smith, why isn't he in the top 5?
He might, and that's an oversight, I would admit. But we know how they treat running backs. Melvin Gordon ran for like 3,000 yards and didn't win the award over Marcus Mariota. So running backs, it's funny that they have to do the things that they do, like Ashton Genty did last season. and they still don't get the Heisman. I think you almost have to run for 2,000 yards just to be in the conversation. It's such an unfair position to play at the college level if you want to win the Heisman, which wasn't the case, obviously, when we were growing up.
20 years ago is a far different paradigm that we were living in. And, one of the guys that was getting a lot of Heisman hype, Dante Moore out at Oregon. And we've been under this perception, Bill, that Oregon is one of the most talented teams in college football. Dan Lanning's done a great job building, an SEC-style team on the West Coast coming from Georgia. And they've got loads of talent, big physical defensive line. And you watch Indiana go in there and beat them up. And they struggle with Penn State and Happy Valley. But, I mean, that's no shame. Penn State was perceived as being really good then, and I think that they were. But then you watch them go out to Iowa and struggle. Now, I know it was a freezing monsoon.
Perfect Iowa City.
Yes. Do any of those results of just like how the game looked, does that impact your view of Oregon? And when did they shift out from being like a potential national title contender to just a good team?
Yeah, I mean, they're still a playoff team. But can they make a run in the playoff? I'm not sure. They did, we all have labels for it. We call it the Kirk Ferentz special in my threads. And you just figure that Iowa's going to win a game like that every year. And they had all the ingredients to do that. I did think Dante Moore made one heck of a throw there on the last drive. I mean, he put it right there on the guy to help set up the game-winning field goal. Their running game is still solid. Their defense has proven that they can play in those games, but the offense has been a little stuck the last couple of weeks. So I'm really intrigued to watch Oregon and USC. That's the game for me that will kind of determine, okay, can Oregon actually be a team that we can count on in the college football playoff? Or does USC, who has it going on a little bit with their offense and Mayava and Mekhi Lemon and the running game, they're pretty good. So I think they're a team to watch as we get down the stretch. That's a game I have circled that will definitely be really big for the Big Ten playoff picture.
I was going to ask another one, but I know we got to go.
So we got. If you want one more, Schleichs.
Yeah.
Well, hey, let's look at this Big Ten. What ifs? How does the Big Ten happen to get 4, Bill? How does the Big Ten happen to get 4?
Not the way you guys would like.
I know exactly, but this is what you do, Bill. This is why they call you the Magnum.
I mean, the only two for me are if USC beats Oregon, gets to 10-2. That's why I said that one was there. And even if Michigan were to beat Ohio State, they would still be kind of, I think, on the fringe in some ways. They would be 10-2, but we saw how they looked against Purdue a couple weeks ago. And it wasn't pretty. They've had some injuries. I mean, will they have Justice Haynes down the stretch? But if they got to 10, and we know it's a uniform game, right? That I think they would slip in as maybe the 11. Other than that, it's one of those two. You've got to get the 10 wins. I'm not sure a 9-3 Big Ten team can get in, especially one of those. I mean, you look at Michigan's losses. They didn't play well at Oklahoma. They didn't play well at USC. USC has a couple losses too with Illinois. That would be the path. It's one of those two teams getting to 10. So I'm assuming, if the Trojans got in, I think that'd be really good for the Big Ten though, because that would show that Lincoln Riley has something going on there. Their offense is very good. Their defense, not so much. Apparently they can put their quarterback in and punter.
But before you get out of here, what are your thoughts on that? 'Cause the Big Ten came down as like that being an illegal play with deception. It didn't bother me because of all the double numbers and everything, but I didn't realize that there was a specific rule talking about that.
That feels a little bit like a Pee Wee football thing. Like, come on. The annexation of Puerto Rico for the punter. But I think if you do that, you have to make it clear before the game, hey, this is our quarterback. He's wearing number 30. So you report that to the other team so they know. And if then their special teams coach can make a note of it, because it is a little bit shady at the college level that we're doing it. I laughed at the story. There's no question. But, come on. This is college football. This is grown-up football. We should be doing grown-up things.
Absolutely. Well, we love it, Bill. We appreciate your time, sir. Thank you for spending on a Tuesday. Enjoy the rankings tonight, and I'm excited to catch up with you again next week.
Hey, anytime, guys. I'll talk to you next week.
That is our guy, Mr. Bill Bender, who does such a great job with us. I want to tell you about our friends over at Export. Listen, Parents, athletes, protect what matters most with Export Mouthguard, trusted by professional athletes, designed by an NHL team dentist. Export Mouthguards are scientifically tested to help absorb those high-impact hits, protecting both your teeth and your brain. They feature 3 layers of advanced protection, including a patented use of carbon fiber. They custom fit that to your 3D with 3D printing to your own unique smile, which means more protection, better performance, max comfort, and clear communication. That way you focus on your game, not on your gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Go visit exportguards.com today. That's /Bobby. That will save you 15% on your order. Export, protect what matters most. More of the Bobby Carpenter Show coming up next. Oh, Schleich, how we doing, buddy? Great segments there with Bill Bender. As we get rolling along here, what's interesting, Schleich, Matt Patricia's come in here, and there's been so many guys have talked about the relationship with him, and what he means to them, and how he's communicated with them both on and off the field, and wants to see them ultimately have success moving forward. And it's interesting because Matt Patricia's had an interesting journey to Ohio State. It's been less than linear, to say the least. And I've had people now talk to me. This is a real conversation, real circles. Is Matt Patricia going to be up for one of these NFL jobs? Like, there's college jobs that are up.
Giants.
There's all these college jobs that are up. Would he be up for one of those? Is he up for one of the NFL jobs? There's a handful open now. There'll be even more open by the end of the year. And is that something that he'd be interested in? I hate speaking for other people with regard to that, because I don't want to sit there and tell them what they do and don't value in their life. But I do believe that Matt is happy here. I think he likes it here. I think his family enjoys it in Columbus. And that's another big piece of it when you've moved around and done as much as he has. So he's a coach in his early 50s, I believe, and really enjoying coaching for Ryan Day and coaching here at Ohio State. So while nothing is ultimately guaranteed or certain, he understands it's a little bit different. This was him, I believe, sitting down with Caleb Downs and his brother on the Downs podcast.
Yeah, I like that.
And talking a little bit about his experience and life being the journey.
I played college football at a small school called RPI. I was an aeronautical engineer. I wanted to be a fighter pilot. I thought I was going to be Maverick from Top Gun. That was kind of where I was headed. But was lucky enough to play college football. And then I stayed a 5th year and I GA'd. I coached. So I played offense. I coached offense, and then got done with that first year. And my mom was kind of like, hey, you're not on scholarship anymore. You need to go to work now. You're kind of off the payroll. So I did engineering for like 2.5 years. It was great. I loved it, but I missed football. I was trying to help with high schools and things like that, but I really wanted to get back to being around college kids and influencing just, 17 to 21-year-old young men. And that was a big time period for myself where I felt like my college coaches were really impactful. And that's kind of what I wanted to get back to. So at the time, I had a really good job offer with nuclear submarines and aircraft carriers, United States Navy, which was pretty cool. And I was driving home from the offer, and one of my old college coaches called and said, I have a $5,000 a year defensive line job. What do you think? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I just quit everything, sold everything I had, and started coaching.
That is amazing. I'm going to go build nuclear submarine Schlegs. I mean, you can't even begin to fathom.
I have a $5,000 D-line coaching position. How about it? What are you thinking? Let's coach. I love it, man. And Bob, it goes back to what you said, right? Like, I think that when you have been a D coordinator and won multiple Super Bowls, and you've been a head coach, and you have younger kids, there is a thought as to, where is my identity? Is my identity in the title, or is, my identity in making an impact? And not to say that one is, exclusive from the other, Bob. But where do I want to do that? Where is the quality of life that I want to be able to have while also doing what God has created me to do? And those are the things that you wrestle with, and you never pass judgment as to why somebody makes a decision that they make. But I do feel, and I think it's very evident from the impact on the guys and what they say about him and his demeanor and presence at practice, Bob, that he is joyful doing what he is currently doing. And part of that is because of the young men that they bring to Ohio State. And he's having fun figuring out ways to allow them to have success, because you've heard it from Braves, you heard it from him, right? You've heard it from Ryan Day. It is not about the plays. It is about the players. And that's what he is about. And that I enjoy being able to listen to him on these type of things.
Absolutely, you do, because it's fun and he's an entertaining guy. And he's a guy that cares a lot about people, Schleich. So you have that in common with him. All right. Going to take a quick break here, tell you about our friends over at Backer. Brand new Buckeye gear and apparel. They've got some of the biggest brands and biggest names around. They're going to keep adding to that list, bckr.com. My wife had the jacket out in the rainstorm at a lacrosse tournament this weekend. People loved it. They wanted to get it. You're going to want to check out the gear. It looks good. It feels even better, has all the function and fit that you love. And they're adding teams by the day. So listen, if you're not a Buckeye fan, I'm sorry, but it's okay. They've got other stuff there for you. bckr.com. It's got free shipping on it right now. And by the way, use promo code all caps BOBBY at checkout, and you're going to get an extra 10% off. So go check them out right now. Backer, our friend Schleich has their sweet hat on right now. So it's all good in the hood. Coming up next, we got our headlines. And one last time, one of our Buckeye brothers was getting honored in a pretty great way by some other Buckeyes in the New York Jets. We'll take a look at that here next. Welcome back in to the Bobby Carpenter Show. And so it's a long week last week. I know we talked some of the stuff about the Jets and what they had ultimately done.
They were amazing.
Jenny did a great job, Nick, they've got the shirts up there, and I don't even know if we showed those yesterday. But why don't we throw up let's throw up the record stuff or the Garrett Wilson, whatever first, Pat, and we'll take a look at this. And this is what's great. This is Jeremy Ruckert rolling in, to the game, and I think he did it even the week before. After his passing. Rocking the 55, and for a guy that plays for the Jets, Schleich, that played at Ohio State, I think he's a guy that's from.
He is.
He's from New Jersey.
He is. He. I don't know where he's over there now.
Over there.
The best picture, because I was there at that time, but he had a Chad Pennington. There was a picture of him growing up, and he had a Chad Pennington. And Chad's one of the best guys.
Oh yeah,
he is a great.
I watched you chewing his ear off over there.
He started a school and started a football program in Kentucky, and he's just a great human. Enjoyed my time with Chad, but Jeremy Ruckert, he had a Chad Pennington jersey on, and his dad was rocking the '74 New York Jet Mangold jersey, and this was, years ago, probably
before he committed.
Yeah,
as a kid.
It's awesome, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's tremendous to see. He's from Lindenhurst, New York, as well. Thank you, Pat, for throwing that in there for us. And then also this great tribute, getting a chance for Garrett Wilson, who, probably had met Nick, knew him a little bit, but Nick's whole family was out there being honored, and Just play the clip, Pat.
Yeah, Buckeyes, man. And you can see in the background over there in the back left, Bob, they had this huge banner in the end zone.
Yeah.
With Nick on there. And it was, I will tell you this, everybody that's out there, Bob, the Jets did it right, honoring our friend and everything that they did. And for a terrible situation, they did it right.
Yeah.
So thank you to them.
They did a great job. And I give a lot of credit to Jenny, because Schleich, it's incredibly hard to do. And it would probably be easiest for her to not have done any of that, and for her to just kind of chill out and not worry about it, stay at home as you're sitting there trying to outdo me in the chat and delete stuff or on the sheet. But for her to stay at home and to not go do anything and just kind of be reserved about it. But I was texting with her yesterday, And I just wanted to tell her to thank her for everything she did and how well she's handled all of this, given how difficult the situation is, to let her know that we're all here for her, and how I know that had to be incredibly difficult on Sunday, being a part of that with your kids out there, Garrett coming over, and then obviously Ruck being there and everything else. And her thought was, and her statement to me was, I wanted our kids to see him get honored and how well he was loved.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the greatest tribute you could give. And that's why the good folks of New York and New Jersey did it right for Nick. And, especially for his younger ones, because you're your older kids, you get in middle school and high school, you get a sense of kind of what your parents are. But when you're young, I don't know if you truly appreciate the impact that they have and the impact that they make on other people. And so in this day and age, man, it's awesome for them to get a chance to see that and to witness it. So thank you to Jenny for being a part of it and going out there and just laying her emotions out on the line for it. All right, we're take a quick break because it is Veterans Day. Our tailgate talk, I want to honor one of the great veterans, a guy that I admire a ton, read a lot of his books, and just watching him become a dude and listening to his story of how he got there and watching it is something that is unparalleled. And so we're going to feature that in our tailgate talk on this wonderful Veterans Day edition of the Bobby Carpenter Show. One of the hardest dudes around, Schlegs. Stay hard.
Stay hard.
Our guy, Mr. David Goggins, he'll get after it in a big way for you all the time, Pat. So you get a chance to pull that up. I saw this, and I was thinking, man, last night was Veterans Day. How can we kind of do something to feature this? It's kind of like Schlegs when he was younger to where Schlegs is now. Just super puffed up, man. David Goggins, Navy SEAL. Before that, he was in the Air Force, Schlegs, so you have that in common. Let's hit it. Amazing. Oh, you see all the things that he's done, Schlegs. Went from there was 300 pounds, and if you've ever read it, You Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, and even his follow-up book, Never Finished, is to me just as good. What all he did in his life and how he went to achieve it, and in the face of everybody saying that he couldn't do it, and the obstacles he had to overcome to being able to meet the mental guidelines on the SFAB, and then having to also lose 100 pounds while he did it, and then going to SEAL training. Just unbelievable guy, Schlegs. He was an absolute monster and one of the toughest people psychologically you'll ever meet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and there's levels, right? So, I mean, and I mentioned it on the Morning Juice, Bob, but I played with a guy from Alexandria, Ohio, and named Alec Messerall. And Alec Messerall did some crazy stuff while in the Air Force as a pilot. But, you remember him when we went to prep school together, and then when we played together at the Air Force Academy, you knew Alec was just going to go do things. And he did, man. It was kind of funny, but he never really talked about it. He's like, my dad, they own a tree farm, Christmas tree farm, Messerall tree farm. He's like, he'll say that he has some occupational hazards. Well, I would say that I probably got him beat, and that's kind of how he talked. And now he's living in UA and raising his kids and stuff. And, but just a great dude. And that's what you remember. And you think about what they had to do, the sacrifices, guys that I played with that are running squadrons and stuff and living in Japan and living all over the country while raising a family, and the sacrifice of normalcy that they're doing for our country and being leaders in the armed services. Just a big thank you to all of them.
Absolutely. Huge thank you. We're going to wrap up the show and maybe talk about one of our other favorite veterans here as we celebrate our veterans on this wonderful Veterans Day. And as we wrap up the show, Schlegs, I want to say thank you to you for your service at the Academy. I know you always laugh at it, but you qualify as a veteran, and so I'm going to give you your due with that. My father-in-law served in the Navy, so I give him a big congratulations. My uncle Winston served in the United States Army, so I always like to thank him for that as well. And he was stationed up in Greenland. So yeah, there's a lot of people out there, and so we really appreciate the sacrifices that are made for those who have served and for those that are currently serving as well. Yep. Schlegs, you got to wrap it up here. Pat, let him know how much time he has, and you can finish this bad boy up, Schlegs.
Well, I just wanted to throw this out there. Pat, tell me how. 45, this is even better. Put up the clip. So I mean, hey, veterans, and Bob, it's funny that you said that too, because I remember the other day they were honoring like my uncle, Father John, as a Jesuit priest, but all of my mom's uncles all served in World War II, and my grandfather served in World War II on my dad's side, and so that was always been there. But Pat, put this up, and again, hey, you guys are now. This kind of comes out of the jail cell, and this, but hey, I just want to scroll down, open it up, Pat. Go to the next clip. But this is called the Juarez Valley 10. This is for dips. You can do it for deadlifts. Sometimes I just want to spice it up, Bob, and give people like a little thing. If they really wanted to go to the depths and stay hard, do this. This is a dip regimen where you do 10 dips and you walk the length of your cell, 8 feet, come back, do 1. Then go do that, do 9. Then you do 2. Then you do 8. Anyways, you're getting a lot of volume. I've done this with deadlift. It was the Juarez Valley 8. Just take 8 on there and do that. Pick a weight, 405. Do it for time. I think the fastest I ever did 405 deadlifts for that volume, which I think is like 36 something reps, was like 351 was what I did it in. But anyway, great way of challenging yourself. You want to do hard things, right? You talk about David Goggins, like do hard things. It's great hypertrophy, but it's really difficult to do. Add that to your repertoire.
All right, Schlegs, I love it. Always getting some little lifting nuggets out there for the folks.
Why not?
Well, big show tomorrow. And also, as a note, Pat McAfee, they're going to be out there in Paris Island today, as I think I mentioned earlier. So a big congrats to Pat for celebrating all of the United States Marine Corps folks who, from the eastern half of the country, that is where they go, is to Paris Island to train. So that's awesome that he'll be doing that and shining a spotlight on our women in service out there today. Hopefully looking to have AJ on the show tomorrow. Big game UCLA. It'll be at night this week, Schlegs. It's freezing now, but it should be warm. So looking forward to a little 60-degree Saturday and probably in the mid-40s to 58 degrees at kickoff, which is what we love to see. Thank you for tuning in on this wonderful Tuesday, Veterans Day, the Bobby Carpenter Show. Stay locked in right here because we got more great stuff coming at you the rest of this week.